Captain America is often remembered as a symbol of victory, a soldier who always stands back up, a hero who eventually wins. But that memory is convenient and incomplete, because when you look closely, Captain America does not actually represent triumph. He represents something far less comfortable. He represents refusal. Refusal to adapt when adaptation requires moral shortcuts. Refusal to bend when flexibility is rewarded. Refusal to redefine winning just to stay aligned with the world around him. This is why Captain America often feels out of place. Not weak, not outdated, out of place. In a world that celebrates results, he stands for principles. In a system that rewards outcomes, he insists on process. And that makes him deeply inconvenient. Most heroes evolve by learning how to win more efficiently. They gain new tools, new strategies, new justifications. Captain America does something else. He draws lines, and once those lines are drawn, he refuses to cross them. Even when crossing would end the conflict faster. Even when crossing would save face. Even when crossing would secure a cleaner victory. This is the part most people miss. Captain America was never meant to be the strongest hero in the room. He was never meant to be the smartest. And he was certainly never meant to be the most adaptable. He was meant to be consistent. And consistency in a changing world comes at a cost. Because the world does not punish those who lose. It punishes those who refuse to play by its newest rules. And that is where Captain America's real conflict begins. We often talk about heroes as if their purpose is to win, to defeat the enemy, to bring the conflict to a clean conclusion. Victory feels like the natural endpoint of every story. But Captain America complicates that expectation, because when you examine his role carefully, winning is never the primary objective. It is a secondary outcome, sometimes an unwanted one. What matters is not whether the battle is won. What matters is how it is won. This distinction sounds subtle, but it changes everything. Most systems are built around results. They reward efficiency, they reward speed, they reward adaptability. If a rule slows progress, the rule is questioned. If a principle interferes with success, the principle is revised. Captain America refuses that logic. He does not ask, will this work? He asks, should this be done at all? And those are very different questions. Winning assumes that the goal justifies the method. Refusal assumes that some methods invalidate the goal itself. This is why Captain America often appears stubborn, or naive, or unnecessarily rigid. From the outside, his choices seem inefficient. From the inside, they are precise. Because once you allow certain victories, you permanently change the rules of the game. And the next time, the line moves again. And again. Captain America understands something most heroes ignore. If you win by becoming unrecognizable to yourself, the victory does not belong to you anymore. It belongs to the system that reshaped you. That is why his story is not about triumph. It is about containment, holding the line, even when everything around him insists that the line is outdated. And that refusal is where his real tension lives. There is a common misunderstanding about Captain America's strength. People assume it comes from power, from training, from enhancement. But strength is not what defines him. Adaptation does. Most heroes survive by changing faster than the world around them. They absorb new rules. They recalibrate their values. They adjust their methods to remain effective. Adaptation is framed as maturity, as intelligence, as growth, and in many cases, it is. But Captain America exposes the flaw in that assumption. Because adaptation without limits is not wisdom. It is surrender disguised as progress. When circumstances change, most characters ask how far they are willing to bend. Captain America asks how far is too far. This is why he feels rigid in a culture that worships flexibility. He does not evolve to match the environment. He evaluates the environment against his principles. That reversal matters. His strength is not physical dominance. It is resistance. Resistance to shortcuts that feel reasonable. Resistance to compromises that sound temporary. Resistance to changes that promise peace at the cost of integrity. This is also why he often stands alone. Adaptable systems move together. They shift in groups. They normalize each adjustment by calling it necessary. Captain America interrupts that momentum. He does not accelerate with the system. He slows it down. And slowing a system is far more threatening than opposing it outright. Because opposition can be dismissed as conflict. Resistance forces examination. Captain America forces the uncomfortable question most people avoid. If this is progress, why does it require abandoning what we once called, right? That question has no clean answer. And that is exactly why he keeps asking it. Captain America does not operate on instincts. He operates on a code. That distinction is critical. Instincts react to pressure. Codes endure it. A moral code, once internalized, does not ask for constant reassessment. It does not negotiate with circumstances. It exists precisely to remove certain choices from consideration. This is why Captain America feels predictable, and why that predictability is misunderstood. People mistake consistency for simplicity. They assume that because his answers are clear, the questions must be easy. They are not. A fixed moral code is not comfortable. It is restrictive by design. It eliminates options before they can be justified. It prevents efficiency when efficiency demands compromise. It forces loss when loss preserves coherence. Captain America does not choose the best outcome. He chooses the acceptable one. That difference defines him. Most characters weigh costs and benefits. He weighs alignment. Is this action consistent with who I claim to be? If the answer is no, the discussion ends. This is not moral superiority. It is moral containment. By refusing to renegotiate his values, he limits the damage he can cause. Not to others, to himself. This is why he cannot fully belong to modern systems of power. Those systems depend on flexibility, on exception clauses, on quiet redefinitions. Captain America offers none. His code does not bend under pressure. It absorbs the pressure instead, and that absorption creates friction. With institutions, with allies, with time itself, the world keeps moving. His code stays where it is, and that immobility is not weakness. It is the point. A fixed moral code does not create conflict immediately. At first, it creates trust. People rely on Captain America because he is stable, because his reactions are known, because his lines do not move. But over time, that same stability becomes a problem. Systems evolve. Institutions adapt. Rules are updated quietly, often without announcement. What was once unacceptable becomes necessary. What was once temporary becomes standard. And this is where integrity stops being admired and starts being resisted. Captain America does not cause chaos. He exposes it. By refusing to adjust alongside the system, he highlights how much the system has shifted. And that contrast is uncomfortable. Inconvenient people are not dangerous because they attack. They are dangerous because they do not participate. They refuse to validate the new normal. Captain America does not accuse. He does not preach. He simply stands still. And in doing so, he forces everyone else to justify why they moved. This is why integrity often leads to isolation. Not because it is aggressive, but because it refuses to collaborate with erosion. Modern systems prefer negotiators. They prefer characters who understand nuance, who accept exceptions. Captain America does not reject nuance. He rejects rationalization. He understands complexity. He simply refuses to let complexity erase boundaries. That refusal is deeply inconvenient, because once integrity stops bending, progress has to explain itself. And explanation is far more exhausting than momentum. Captain America becomes a problem not when he fights the system, but when he survives within it without changing. That endurance is his real disruption, and it costs him more than any battle ever could. The cost of consistency is rarely immediate. It accumulates quietly. Captain America does not lose everything at once. He loses alignment. He loses timing. He loses ease. He becomes harder to place. Allies begin to hesitate, not because they doubt his intentions, but because they understand the implications of standing beside him. Consistency demands commitment, and commitment limits options. As the world grows more complex, simple lines feel impractical. They slow decision-making. They complicate outcomes. So the pressure begins, not to defeat Captain America, but to reinterpret him. He is labeled unrealistic, idealistic, unprepared for modern realities. These labels are not insults. They are mechanisms. They allow others to move forward. without carrying his resistance with them. Captain America does not respond by hardening. He does not escalate. He absorbs the distance. He watches the gap widen between what is effective and what is acceptable. This is the true cost of his code. Not pain, not loss, but misalignment. He remains the same person in a world that no longer rewards that stability. And stability without reinforcement becomes solitude. Captain America stands at the edge of relevance, not because he failed to adapt, but because adaptation has become the price of belonging. He accepts that price and chooses exclusion instead. That choice does not make him righteous. It makes him alone. And loneliness, in systems built on cooperation, is a quiet form of defeat. But it is a defeat he accepts, because the alternative would require becoming someone else. Captain America's conflict does not belong to the battlefield. It belongs to adulthood. Because most adults are not asked to be heroes. They are asked to cooperate. They are asked to be flexible, to adapt, to understand how things work now. Small compromises are framed as intelligence. Silences are framed as maturity. Letting things slide is framed as realism. And most of the time, it works. Life continues. Careers move forward. Relationships remain intact. But something else happens quietly. The lines that once felt non-negotiable become conditional, then optional, then invisible. Captain America reflects the discomfort of noticing that shift. He represents the moment when you realize that winning often requires becoming quieter than you intended to be, more efficient than you wanted to be, more adaptable than you can fully respect. He asks an unsettling question, not "what should I do?" but "what would this make me?" That question slows everything down. It forces you to examine choices that were supposed to be practical, not personal. Most people do not betray themselves dramatically. They adjust in increments. One exception, one justification, one necessary step. Captain America does not judge those steps. He simply refuses to take them. And that refusal feels unreasonable because it reminds us of the lines we crossed without ever announcing it. He is not a model to imitate blindly. He is a mirror, a reminder that adulthood is not about choosing between good and evil. It is about choosing between alignment and belonging, between staying recognizable to yourself and staying comfortable within the system. Captain America does not offer a solution. He offers attention. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Captain America was never meant to win. Not because he lacks strength, not because he lacks conviction, but because winning, as the world defines it, requires flexibility he refuses to adopt. He was designed to hold a position, not to reach a conclusion, to draw a line, not to move with the crowd. This is why his story feels unresolved, why it resists clean endings, why it never fully settles. Captain America does not bring comfort. He brings friction. He reminds us that some victories cost more than they deliver, that some outcomes demand versions of ourselves we are not prepared to become. In a culture obsessed with optimization, he represents limitation. In systems built on negotiation, he represents refusal. And that refusal is not heroic in a cinematic sense. It is quiet. It is inconvenient. It is often unrewarded, but it preserves something most systems slowly erase: continuity of self. Captain America survives not because he wins, but because he does not redefine himself. Every time the rules change, he accepts that this will cost him relevance, allies, belonging, and he accepts it without spectacle. That is his real function, not to show us how to win, but to show us what winning should never require. When the world moves forward by erasing its boundaries, he stays behind, holding the last visible line, not to stop progress, but to ask a question progress rarely answers. What are you willing to become? In order to call this a victory, Captain America does not answer that question for us. He simply refuses to answer it incorrectly. And that refusal is why he still matters.